Sports Entertainment presents the 1990 NBA playoffs. Tonight, the San Antonio Spurs host the Portland Trail Blazers in Game 6 of the Western Conference semifinals. And here's a brief look at how we arrived at the Trail Blazers' 3-2 lead. They dominated each of the first two at home, and then the same thing in reverse. When the Spurs came home, they won by 23-10. Pivotal Game 5, in which the Spurs trailed by 22 late in the third quarter, ended up in double overtime, a 6-point victory for Portland, and so they will try to finish off the Spurs 4-2 if they can win on the enemy floor, and no one has done that so far in this series. Glad to have you with us again. My name is Dave Barnett. Very interesting series so far. For the Spurs, all the cliches apply. We'll get them out of the way right now. Their backs are to the wall. There is no tomorrow. They have a do-or-die situation. A lot of these young players have not been in that situation in the NBA yet this year. They also have to stop that backcourt of Portland that we've spotlighted for you. Porter and Drexler combining for 73 points. The spotlight will be on Willie Anderson and Rod Strickland tonight for the Spurs, and Willie will have to come back from a dislocated left thumb, which occurred late in the game in Portland Tuesday night. But trainer John Anderson says no problem and he should be ready. And Greg Simmons, the other thing that's really fascinating about this matchup is psychologically who came out with less damage from Game 5.
Well, if you look at it and you're Spurs fans, you have to be very happy with the fact the Spurs were able to come back from a 22-point deficit and still send the game into overtime. You get some great shooting from Sean Elliott, and at the same time, David Wingate, who hasn't hit a three-pointer all season long, comes up with 2 key three-pointers, including the one that put the game into the first overtime to tie it up at the end of regulation. But at the same time, if you're the Portland Trail Blazers, you got to say, wait a minute. The Spurs threw everything they could at us, and we were still managed to come out with a win. Trouble is, the Spurs are on their home court here, where they haven't lost in the playoffs if you're the Portland Trail Blazers, so they really have to be cognizant of the fact to get out to a good start quickly.
The backcourt comparison we have spotlighted throughout the series. Here's how it stands statistically through the first 5 games. And you can see about a 20-point per game edge for the Portland starting guards. A few more assists for the Spurs, mainly because Strickland's had a great series. All the three-pointers have been thrown up by Drexler and Porter. Strickland's thoughts about trying to slow down that tandem coming into Game 6 tonight.
Well, it's going to be real important. They definitely had a great game up in Portland, and, you know, we back at our place, and hopefully things will change again.
What do? Do you just hope that Porter's not going to hit 10 out of 11 and not be just out of his head like he was, or is there a specific change in your defense that you're going to try tonight?
Well, no, I think, like you said, Terry Porter, he had a great game. He hit everything he put up to the basket, and if he does that, I mean, we're going to be in trouble. I don't think we had to change anything. You know, just play him honest and try not to let him get around you, but when he's hitting the jumper, it's tough.
Can you describe the energy that you get from this home crowd? Because there's an obvious difference in how the Spurs have played, especially in the first half of these games here as opposed to on the road.
It's like that with every team, I think. The home crowd really gets you pumped up, gets you into the game, and you know, you always want to have a good outing for the home crowd, and you know they're behind you, and you know, you just play with a little extra adrenaline.
Well, I think the game is basically the same. If you can do it at home, you can do it on the road. The question is whether or not we're going to defend like we did the other night. I think defense is the key for us. I've always said we're going to score points. It doesn't matter who scores on our team. I think the key for us is defense.
Is it easier to defend, though, when you've got those 13,000 people yelling for you instead of the 16,000 against you?
As professionals, we've played in front of big crowds before. I think it's about going out and doing your job and doing the best you can.
When we talk about the front court comparison, except for Game 1 when the Portland starting front court really dominated San Antonio, it's been a fairly even matchup.
Yeah, it really has, and that's important for the Spurs, who have been able to dominate inside in this series. Look at the points per game turned in by the Spurs inside from the front court. Just over 62 a game compared to Portland's 45. Rebounding factor, they're also out rebounding the Portland starters. If you look at the blocks, another key defensive stand, and even at the line, they're not going to the line as many times, but they have a better shooting percentage, and if you're a Spurs fan, that's got to be very surprising.
Well, the whole city is ready for this one. 5,000 tickets for Game 6 put on the market, and 2 hours later, a couple of days ago, they were all gone. This should be the loudest crowd of the year. We'll return for the lineups and tip-off in a moment.
Center from Navy, 7-1, David Robinson. Go to the Spurs, Larry Brown, assisted by R.C. Buford, Greg Popovich. Alvin Gentry and Ed Manning. Your trainer is John Anderson.
All the usual starters both ways in the officiating crew tonight. Mike Mathis on the left, Daryl Garrettson, chief of NBA officiating in the middle, and Dan Crawford is on the right. David Robinson had a very late wake-up call. People talked about Rod Strickland missing this morning's shoot-around because he didn't get his alarm clock in gear, but David didn't really start to play until it was almost out of range for the Spurs, and then from the point where they were 22 down in Game 5, no one could stop him. If he plays that way in the first half tonight, it might be over by halftime.
Critical for the Spurs to get off on a good start, and a good start for the Spurs is a very strong, physical, inside game quickly, and that's what David Robinson is going to ask from himself tonight. Remember, he had 14 points in that fourth quarter turnaround for the Spurs back in game number 5, so it's very critical, again, for them to dominate inside. When you got guys like Cooper out, Duckworth out, and Williams and Kersey have to pick up the load along with another guy named Cliff Robinson, David Robinson should be scoring 45 points a night against this team.
Well, Rick Adelman hoping that history does mean something. As you saw a moment ago, the Trailblazers have never lost a series in which they led 3-2 after 5, but they've also never wrapped up a playoff series on the road, so they hope to do that for the first time. But you have to wonder, with some of the quotes from the Trailblazers before and after Game 5, where they said, all we have to do is win our home games, if they even expect deep down to win this.
I know exactly where you're headed on that one. It almost seems they're in a mindset here to lose tonight. It would be a big bonus for them, obviously, to win and, of course, end the series here. But it's almost as if in their minds are saying, if we're going to win this against this team after what they did to us in Game 5, coming back from a 22-point deficit, we're going to have to take it back home for Game 7. This crowd is just too tough to beat. This team is just too tough to beat against this crowd. When you're dealing with a young team like the Spurs have, they play up so much higher, I believe, when they play before this home crowd. They just play on emotion and adrenaline. And boy, you saw a lot of that in Duckworth, of course, out of this series. Duckworth says that he's going to try and be back if they go to the finals here with the Portland Trailblazers.
And you see today's word. Clyde Drexler telling us before tonight's game, though he differs with our theory. He says, let's go ahead and take care of it here. Let's forget about it. Not have to go home and prepare for the Phoenix Suns. Spurs hope to play another day after tonight. And that ball will belong to the Spurs off the hands of Jerome Kersey.
You know, to demonstrate how important a quick early lead is for the Spurs, they are unbeaten at the end of the first quarter and at the end of the half when they are leading.
And at the end of the third quarter when they lead. Great front-running team, and then they showed in Game 5 they can come from behind, but as it turned out, a little bit too big a hole at 22 down in the third quarter to climb out of. Here's a man who almost brought him back all the way, though, Sean Elliott. Willie Anderson with the left-handed dribble, and the follow, and the Spurs are up 2-0.
Strong indication. Watch how the Spurs go to the boards at the beginning, especially the offensive boards. Willie Anderson left wide open that time.
Drexler wide open, not even close, and Rod Strickland chases down the loose ball. Elliott off his career playoff high 21 points. Clutch shot after clutch shot, and especially after Robinson and Anderson had fouled out, and he knew he had to do it. Larry Brown saw the best professional basketball that Sean Elliott's played. 4 players foul out. Someone had to be the go-to man. Sean Elliott took over. Anderson with a body on Drexler and gets the roll. 4-0. And Willie's answering all our questions about that dislocated left thumb in the first minute of this game. Doesn't appear to even be mindful of it. Cliff Robinson forced way out by Cummings. Kersey from 20 feet out. Nothing but net. Kersey only 43% from the field in the series, though. He really hasn't had a huge impact since Game 1. 4-2 Spurs. Cummings over Robinson. Can't quite answer as Kersey comes up with the board. Same matchup as last game with Buck Williams and not Cliff Robinson in a matchup with David Robinson, who pulls down the board after Porter's miss, and the Spurs will run it 3-on-3. Rocket Rod in the middle. Behind the head to TC, and he's rejected by Kersey, and they kept it in bounds. Nicely done by Cliff Robinson. It'll be interesting to see how Rod Strickland performs tonight. We talked about him struggling at times in the games in Portland. He missed today's shoot-around. Turnover, on the double team of Williams. This is 3-on-1. And Drexler is there to foul the works up for San Antonio. Spurs look for a foul call, and it will come against Cliff Robinson. But that's a couple of fast break opportunities that Portland has stifled.
Well, here's what stifled the Spurs the last time down the court. Rod Strickland faking the pass over the shoulder to Terry Cummings here. Cummings goes up, but he's rejected by Jerome Kersey.
Foul on Cliff Robinson. Double team against David Robinson, and Clyde Drexler comes away. From the corner, Kersey. And over the top was Cliff Robinson for the tap-in to tie it up at 4-all. Underneath to David. Spurs try to get him off early. First two of the night.
Well, that's one thing that was not working for David in Game 5. That was his turnaround, and of course also his outside jumper. He needs to take it inside on Williams every chance he gets.
And especially when he's single covered, as was the case there. And that would be a goaltend call by Dan Crawford, and not a popular one.
I got to ask yourself here, does David Robinson realize what's going to happen here? Watch and see the arc of the ball as he drives in. Watch and see where the arc is. He's on his way down. Very close call because it was just about over the top of the rim at the time. Here's another angle of it and see what you think. It's almost as David had a second guess himself as he was going up as well.
Give the two to Kersey, and we're tied again. 3 minutes gone in the game. Again, single coverage by David. Now Porter to double team. Robinson rolls it out. Cummings puts it back. TC off 32 points with 11 rebounds. A heroic effort in the comeback for the Spurs in 52 minutes. If anybody's worn out, it's going to be Terry tonight. Drexler short for 3. Cliff Robinson. A strong start for the rookie from Connecticut. And he and Kersey each with 4 to tie it at 8.
Now, Drexler had 48 minutes. You look at Terry Porter, who had 54 minutes in that game as well.
Boy, when you watch those two, as the Spurs were coming from behind, they were absolutely dead. 3-pointer by Strickland, no good. Loose ball foul, Spurs. Terry Cummings has the first against the team.
I'll tell you one thing, when Rod Strickland squared up to shoot that 3-pointer, he had all the confidence in the world that he was going to make it.
Terry Porter, who had the second best playoff game in Blazer history, 38 points, 2 off the club playoff record held by Michael Thompson. Robinson from the corner. Drexler among 3 Spurs for the offensive board, and you've seen that before. Another 3-pointer by Terry Porter. A club playoff or regular season record, 5 of those in Game 5. More than in any game in Blazer history.
The Spurs did not block out on the boards, and they paid the price.
Strickland went backdoor. Nice dish finger roll shot. Elliott for his first 2. 11-10 Blazers. 7:35 to go in the quarter.
You look at Sean Elliott, and you got to tell yourself he's no longer a rookie this deep in the playoffs.
All alone in the corner, and Kersey can't get that one. But Portland doing a good job again on the offensive glass. 3-pointer by Porter, rebounded by Drexler. There they go again on the offensive boards. They have a 5-2 advantage in that category. On the other hand, they continue to have a hard time working the ball inside, and that's a 3-second violation. They just looked and couldn't find anybody until the violation.
Well, that's the key for the Spurs. If you're going to let Portland beat you, you're going to let them beat you from the outside and now 3-point range as well. If they can hit that hot from 3-point range, and that's the way it goes. If you're the Spurs, you got to defend inside.
A Spur timeout. Portland by 1 early on. First period, in Portland on an 11-10 advantage. Ground transportation arranged through General Rent-A-Car, America's fastest growing car rental company with free unlimited mileage coast to coast. General Rent-A-Car. Difference in the game, the 3-pointer by Terry Porter, and this number as Portland again trying to assert their athleticism on the offensive glass. A 7-4 edge in second chance points. Brown with an early timeout to point that out to the Spurs. Shot clock under 10. Elliott working on Kersey, puts a body on him, stops the drive. Anderson underneath. Rod Strickland off the bottom of the rim as the shot clock was winding down. Drexler underneath. Easy 2 by Kersey.
Well, the one thing that's distressing if you're the Spurs is you look at who's getting those rebounds. A lot of times it's the guards. It's not the front court. They're able to penetrate inside and pick up the loose balls.
Oh, you see a lot of leadership from Clyde Drexler, getting a lot of those offensive rebounds. Outside is Sean Elliott, who has shot 56% in the postseason from the field. The Spurs may have found themselves another go-to guy at the end of Game 5. Robinson, Cummings, Anderson throughout the year proving they can hit the big shots, and when Elliott got a chance, he showed that he remembers how he used to do it at Arizona. Shot clock at 8. Cliff Robinson rolls it home. This is really a surprise for him. He's only 33% in the postseason, not much better than that during the regular season from the field. 3 of 4 tonight. Cummings, offensive board. Anderson for the easy 2, and again Willie looks completely unaware of whatever pain his left thumb may be feeling.
Yeah, and he got that thumb injury trying to step in for a steal with that hand, and that's where he jammed it.
Turn around by Porter, who was just unconscious in Game 1. There's really no other word for it.
But you got to
the first half of Game 5.
Wonder how long he's going to last in this particular game after playing 54 minutes there. Will he be able to get winded? Is he going to be winded by the fourth quarter?
Strickland for the pull-up, and Buck Williams sending it out to Porter. 17-14 Trailblazers, 5:10 to play in the first quarter. Much stronger start than a lot of these folks among the 15,910 expected. Kersey on the drive, the finger roll, knocked around. He ends up with it. He's got that knack of finding the loose balls, and David Robinson knocks it out of bounds.
Now it's tough because Buck Williams set a nice screen for Kersey to drive inside on the Spurs, goes up and can't get the rebound. And then the Spurs step in, and Robinson comes right off his fingertips on the baseline.
Robinson and Drexler 3 boards apiece. Kersey and Williams 2 apiece for Portland, as Porter is boarded by Anderson. Spurs would like to crank up the running game. That's really what got the crowd into it in Games 3 and 4. How many chances so far? They blew 2. Robinson counted with a foul. He can tie it at the line, and the foul is on Buck Williams.
That's exactly what it will take for the Spurs to win tonight. David Robinson has to pick the level of his game up early. Now, we've seen him do well overall, but it must come out here early tonight. And there you see David driving on Buck Williams. He gets a little help there from Cliff Robinson coming over. Robinson dominates.
Cliff Robinson pulls down the board, and still Portland by 1. An amazing advantage during the series for Portland. It's as if the Spurs start every game 15 points down because of the difference from the foul line. They have to shoot that much better from the field. Still stolen underneath. Terry Cummings to Strickland, and the Spurs get a chance to take the lead. It's Anderson from the corner. 4 for 5 by Willie, 18-17.
He should dislocate his thumb more often.
Maybe try the other one. Well, that might be too much. Anderson with an 8-point beginning. Terry Porter off the pick and roll with Buck Williams. And Buck to the right-handed hook. Kersey again on the offensive glass. This is the way he played Game 1 when he was so dominant. Easily the player of that game. Left-handed, Buck with his first 2.
Well, once again, you see the Spurs allowing the Blazers' front court and also their back court penetrate into the lane. Need to block out a little bit better on the boards here, and there's early start.
All the Blazers have scored except Drexler, but he's got 3 boards and 3 assists, and Willie having the type half that Porter had the other night. 5 of 6 by Anderson. Drexler with a missed 3-pointer. Rebound Elliott. Drexler up at midcourt. Elliott right past him and underneath to TC. And very quickly you can see what the Spurs can do when they run. They force Rick Adelman into a timeout with a 3-point Spurs advantage. An 8-2 San Antonio run. Full timeout, 3:08 to play in the first period. 22-19 Spurs. Maybe in a few years he'll be our Mazda player of the game. We will be naming a Mazda player of the game coming up at the conclusion of this evening's broadcast. It's 22-19. San Antonio on an 8-2 run, and Danny Young off of the Adelman bench replacing Terry Porter. Portland with another turnover. Their fourth. They've forced only one so far.
It's been a problem, a bug that's bitten Portland here in San Antonio playing against his home crowd.
Really got the feeling that the first big burst by the Spurs would really show how intense Portland's going to be tonight, because it is so easy for them to say, gosh, I'm tired. I mean, double overtime, 50 minutes, and we got one more crack at home, and they haven't beaten us there. A lot of reasons, if the Blazers are so inclined, to check it in if they fall behind in the first half.
Well, that time the double team works against Brakowski, forcing a turnover off his left foot.
Brick in for David Robinson. David Wingate is also checked in, replacing Sean Elliott. Here's Young. Kersey in the clamps between Anderson and Cummings. Spurs extend the defense. This is what they wanted to do in Game 5. Pick them up about 25 feet out and gum up the works in their passing lanes. Mark Bryant with one on the shot clock. A nice assist by Clyde Drexler.
And that's how you beat a defense that's extended. You use the passing game to penetrate.
Bryant in for Buck Williams. And all the way through, Strickland to Brakowski. Rick, 62% from the field in the postseason, 24-21 Spurs.
Played sparingly in Game 5 because of the smaller lineup that Portland demonstrated.
Drexler still without a point. Robinson with 8 here in the first quarter.
Here's a guy who averaged just a little over 8 points against the Spurs in the playoffs. In Game 5, he only had 11, so he's way up.
4 of 5 so far, and that might have been the first time that the dislocated thumb hurt Willie Anderson. Never had a good grip on it. Portland can retake the lead, and bumping between Kersey and Brakowski. That will be on Frank, his first second against the team. Robinson and Elliott didn't rest long. They're back in with 1:12 to go in the period.
Problem happened there is that Willie was taken out on a screen, so Brakowski had to come over and help immediately.
Drazen Petrovic, who had a couple of big shots at the end of Game 5. His first bit of duty tonight. Knocked out of his hands. Robinson with the steal. Elliott to Davis. Look out. First depth charge from the Admiral tonight.
Did you see how quick he got down the court and got up for the jam?
Somebody needs to time him in the 40. Maybe he could do a Bo Jackson, play tight end in the NFL. On the baseline, the answering bucket by Mark Bryant. Can you see him at wide receiver, alley-oop into the end zone? Against all those 5'8" DBs in the NFL. That's traveling on David Wingate. Gate with his first 2 3-pointers of the season. One in the first quarter, one to send it into overtime.
You were talking about Petrovic earlier. He has what considered to be the biggest basket. Put him up by 3, 134 to 131 in the second overtime after it looked like Johnny Moore had a big steal.
That was another great play by Kersey to come up with the loose ball. They got it to Drexler, who found Petrovic, faked the 3, got the 2, and that proved to be too much of a margin for the Spurs to overcome in the double OT. Young coughs it up. Mark Bryant to the deck to get it back. Great hustle play. And that will be a shot clock violation, I believe. Now, they may decide to go to the opinion of Dan Crawford. Garrettson and Crawford now joined by Mike Mathis. They're going to figure out if it still belongs to Portland, and they say it does, and I think they're correct here. Looked like it hit the rim before the shot clock expired.
Well, that's why Garrison was out of position. He was on the baseline, and that's why he allowed the other 2 officials to make the call, because they could see the shot clock, and at the same time they could also see the rim.
And you can see the game clock, 4.4 seconds. Petrovic inside of Sean Elliott. Blazers by 1. See if Gates got another bomb in him. Never got the handle and almost lined it in from about 35 feet. So we come to the end of 1 in Game 6, and Portland hanging on to a thin 1-point margin over Larry Brown and the Spurs. Our score at Hemisphere Arena, 27-26. Trailblazers here on HSE. Spurs assistant to the chairman, Bob Bass, and his wife, Pat. Now this in slow motion gives you some feel for the quickness of David Robinson, because he beats everybody up the floor. But when you look at it in normal time, it looks like it's speeded up into fast motion. That is how quick he is.
David Robinson said he got advice from his younger brother Chuck on how he should dunk the ball. His younger brother said you have to be an entertainer. You've got to spread the legs out more, be more dominating on the boards that way. So you want to put a little showtime into your dunks.
62% by the Spurs, 7-3 on the offensive glass for Portland, and that's a big reason they lead by 1 as we get underway in the second quarter. Spurs pick them up tough at half court. Petrovic with some room in the lane, though. And he takes steps trying to drive around Anderson. Really the offensive star for the Spurs with a 5 of 6, 10-point first period.
Daryl Garrison made the rookie in the NBA, Drazen Petrovic, come back, pick up the ball, and give it to him.
And with Rod Strickland on the bench, Willie Anderson, bad thumb and all, working from the point. Didn't do it much this year. Last year, a few times. Wingate tried to alley-oop to David. He was being held by Mark Bryant. First foul on the second-year man from Seton Hall.
Yeah, when you first look at that, you say, wait a minute, who is he throwing it to? Well, that's because David Robinson is in the grips of Mark Bryant.
Wingate with the straight-in delivery this time, and David turned away. David with 6 in the first period, 3 of 5 from the field, but only 1 rebound. It's an aspect of his game that takes a while to get cranked up for whatever reason. Buck Williams throwing it away. Anderson turns around, comes up with the loose ball, and it's Elliott and Robinson. Shot all the way. And the Spurs regain the lead, 28-27.
Did you see the determination in Sean's eyes as he drove to the basket? He was not going to be denied. He was not passing the ball. He was taking it straight in.
8-0 in fast break points in favor of the Spurs, who get an illegal defense warning. The disbelief of Brown.
Well, the last home game the Spurs played here, 3 illegal defenses called consecutively.
Young against Wingate with a big wingspan advantage. Buck Williams to back down David Robinson. Got the double team. Petrovic. Good defensive switch that time by Brakowski, who gets out on the break. Ducks his shoulder, goes in, and Young ties him up. Well, Brick showing a willingness to handle the ball in traffic that time, but you'll see the quick hands of Young in action.
Watch as he reaches in here. Watch Brakowski go up, and he's got a hand on the ball. They call the jump before Brakowski can come down.
6-inch height advantage working for Brick. Underneath, traffic. Too hard by David. Brick, 2 chances. Will it go? It will not. And Wingate with the offensive board, all alone. Finally, counted with the foul on Petrovic. Greg, this is how Portland plays at home, and this is what the Spurs needed to do early.
You see everybody crashing the boards. Wingate stays out to hope for an outside rebound. He penetrates here, pushes it over to David, who takes the outside shot. You saw Petrovic coming over and fouling him on the forearm.
Much too much. David appearing to be looking for his rhythm at the foul line. He was way short on his first attempt.
You find that David is leaning a little bit too much to the right on his shots. That's why he's missing.
Spurs by 3. Anderson against Byron Irvin, who sees some first half action for the first time. Rookie out of Missouri. Bryant, wraparound feed stolen by Elliott, and he's fouled by Buck Williams.
Well, one thing that's been bothering Sean Elliott, and one thing that may be reoccurring now, is the fact that he has that big toe injury. Remember, he had that toe stepped on earlier in the playoff series. He had it somewhat re-injured in Game 5, and now he's limping again.
And Porter back in to replace Danny Young. Elliott with a real grimace on his face as he made his way to his feet. But will shake it off and play on. Spurs 30, Portland 27. Exactly 2 minutes gone in the second quarter. And Wingate may be looking backdoor for Anderson. Covered up. Brakowski off the side of the glass, and Irvin, their first-round pick a year ago, with the board.
Elliott is still limping.
All the way in, Porter, and a Spur with a hand on it, but Mark Bryant there for the loose ball. He's got 6. Bryant and Cliff Robinson so far outscoring David Robinson as a tandem 14-8. They've done a nice job inside. I want to remind you that at halftime we'll go to Arlington Stadium. We'll get a glimpse of what's going on between the Rangers and Detroit Tigers as they close out that 3-game series tonight on HSE. And Anderson continues to get all the rolls. 6 of 7. Now Mathis and Crawford with a brief discussion. Double technical foul, but they will count the basket for Anderson.
Watch inside after the ball goes up here. You see the shot by Anderson. Watch inside. Oh, yeah, it's a high forearm to the head by Bryant to Brakowski. You see him exchange shoves. They issue the double technical against Bryant and Brakowski. But there you see Bryant going for Brakowski's head. See the forearm to the head. You see him pushing off. Brakowski returns the favor, and then the pushing match.
Spurs shouldn't have a problem with that because Brick raked his forearm before the harder shove by Bryant. And normally that's what you see. Double technical. 32-29 Spurs. Mark Bryant staying active offensively, although that one wouldn't fall. Well, interesting. Adelman going with Byron Irvin, who's only been dusted off in garbage time in the postseason. Not at all, in fact, in their Dallas sweep. From the corner, Wingate gets his first 2. And David Wingate has really been a consistent offensive force for the Spurs. 52% of the playoffs, 54%. About 10% better than you'd expect in this series from the field. Petrovic fouled by Elliott, his first against the team as Cummings returns.
I tell you, Wingate has been such a dominating force on defense. His offensive game has really come to life here in the playoffs. But another thing, an aspect of the game that you haven't seen much of, is Wingate playing point guard. And, of course, that was asked of him after Rod Strickland fouled out in the game against Portland in Game 5. And Wingate did a fairly decent job of that position, which he's not normally accustomed to playing.
Drazen Petrovic, who learned about the NBA via satellite from Italian TV when he was growing up in Yugoslavia.
I'd say if you're a Spur, one thing that bothers you about Petrovic is he has a tendency to celebrate after every basket.
A little Dennis Rodman in him.
Exactly.
When it comes to that. Spurs continue with Strickland on the bench and non-point guards playing that position. Wingate and Anderson. Duck under move by Cummings. Mark Bryant, a muscular force underneath, and the Trailblazers with the ball down by 4, 34-30. If they win, it's over. If not, back to Portland, 2:30 San Antonio time, Game 7. Byron Irvin with the driving bucket. Adelman showing a lot of confidence in the rookie, and also showing that he has to rest Clyde Drexler. Cannot call on him for 48 minutes again tonight. Wingate again, nothing but net. Not only is he hitting, Greg, he's swishing most of these shots.
Well, against Portland in this series, 54% from the field.
With Robinson. And Cummings, who was beaten initially on that drive, starts the break. Anderson hammered Byron Irvin with their 4th team foul. This is what you want in the playoffs, though, a hard foul with somebody driving to the hoop.
You got to keep him from going up and getting the three-point play in a situation like this. Sometimes the Spurs don't foul hard enough. And this is a good example of how you have to do that to keep from the fast break point. And if you're going to foul, you have to make your mind up to go ahead and do it and make sure that ball doesn't get in there.
American tradition in this series, very few free throws. Portland just got their first 2. Petrovic made 1. Johnny Moore in for Sean Elliott. Brown finally getting a true point guard out there. Spurs' first made free throw of the night on only their 3rd attempt. Robinson missed both of his. San Antonio by 6, 38-32. And that is the big margin of the game so far.
Once again, the Trailblazers are trying to draw the illegal defense with Bryant way out here pointing at Brakowski, but instead a foul is called.
Off the ball on Cummings, his second. Now Brown going with 2 point guards together. Moore and now Rod Strickland back into the game. So Brown throwing out that nomenclature about positions. You're just going for matchups at this point. Petrovic rebounded by Cummings. A lot of times more with the quick trigger. Will hit a long outside shot cold off the bench. Cast it up here. Long scoop. And even that almost goes for Willie Anderson. Not only his second miss of the night, he's got 14 points to easily lead both teams. 20-footer not there for Porter. Willie all over the place to keep it alive, and a loose ball foul will go against Petrovic, his second.
Oh, and listen to this crowd after his celebrations following baskets in Game 5. He is not a welcome sight here in the Hemisphere Arena.
6:36 in the first half. Spur timeout. They lead by 6. 38-32 in Game 6. Some of the best athletes in the world will be competing in the Southwest Conference Track and Field Championships this weekend. See next day delayed coverage at 7 p.m. Sunday from College Station. All that this weekend on Home Sports Entertainment. And Frank Rakowski at the line. After the foul by Petrovic, they return Clyde Drexler to the game. Spurs up 38-32.
You look at Rakowski's numbers from the field 62%, but from the line 65% in the playoffs.
Third point for Brick. Big margin of game now up to 7 for San Antonio. Porter and Strickland, the original point guard matchup now. Off the screen comes Drexler, still scoreless. Rakowski. Now Strickland, but 4 Blazers get back. Portland, by the way, still looking for their first points off a fast break tonight. And that deflection by Cliff Robinson. But not able to stay in bounds with the save, and David Robinson will return for the Spurs in place of Rakowski. Spurs with a chance to go up at least by 9, and they free Cummings momentarily. Then here came Kersey, and then there comes David Robinson.
Oh, did you see how Robinson timed that slam? He almost pulled back on it, double pumped it, and then put it in.
41-32. That preternatural quickness by David. Isolation Drexler against Sean Elliott. And Sean coming away. 5-on-3. Robinson rejection, but a foul before that block shot. And on Cliff Robinson, it is number 2. Now the Spurs in the bonus and have been for some time.
Here's another look at it. Elliott playing great on defense, gets the board, comes down, dishes off to David. You see Cliff Robinson is not set. That happens before the rejection by Kersey.
And there's a real chance for the Spurs to, for the first time in the series, get an advantage at the foul line as David finally regains the touch.
Yeah, in the playoffs, just shooting 71% from the free throw line.
Caldwell Jones, first action of the night, in for Cummings.
Larry Brown said he almost lost Caldwell, just forgot where he went in a situation where he left the game in Game 5 with a contact problem. Larry said he just got confused. He forgot he had to go out.
First double-digit margin, and this is a 9-point San Antonio run. Fans want him to go ahead and put him away right now. Kersey ends the streak. He's got 8. Pretty consistent 21 per game score in this series.
And only the 3rd field goal in this quarter for the Blazers.
And an off-the-ball push. Clyde Drexler with his first foul. So again, the Spurs will shoot independently. They've only been called for 2 team fouls. And if they maintain their aggressiveness and their willingness to go to the hoop, this is where they can do a number on Portland in reverse. This is how the Blazers have overcome their lack of shooting from the field in this series.
A lot of people always point to the fact that they get the home calls, but a lot of times you'll find teams just play more aggressively on their home court, and that's oftentimes why they get the calls. The teams that establish themselves more physical inside earlier, the teams that are going to get the calls.
It's almost you almost denigrate the effort of the home team by saying, well, you get the calls because you're at home. You earn the calls if you're at home normally because of what you said. You're more likely to take it in. Under the 5-minute mark we go in the second quarter. And the driving hook, not a good idea by Kersey. Rebound, Rod Strickland. Spurs with a lot more running opportunities this quarter. Elliott can't get it to go. Fourth rebound by Clyde Drexler. 6 assists for him already. Still yet to score. And there's rebound number 5. Stop and go move all the way in by Porter. And the whistle underneath. And this will go on David Wingate, his first, third against the team.
There you see a foul situation where if you're going to foul the man, you got to tear the ball out of the hands as well. Something a lot of times the Spurs don't make hard physical fouls inside with a penetrator close to the basket.
We're going to check that. They're going to put it on Caldwell Jones rather than Wingate. That's what they've done. Willie Anderson back in to replace Sean Elliott. And Willie, keep in mind, it was 6 of 8 from the field for 14 points. A memorable game for Porter the other night, and especially in the first half. But he spent himself. He had very little after halftime.
Yeah, if you're Larry Brown, you got to tell yourself, well, he's not going to keep that up.
And so far, he hasn't. 2 of 7 from the field for Porter in this game. Wingate against Kersey. Outputs him to the hoop. Back behind him. Strickland needs that shot to fall more consistently. That's his first 2 points of the night. Back to a 10-point lead. Portland cool. 1 for 7 from the field as the Spurs have built the margin. Buck Williams against Caldwell Jones. Who knows? This might be his last NBA game ever. Knocked by Anderson right to CJ. And Willie, breakneck drive, charges. Offensive foul, his first. Terry Porter standing his ground.
You got to give credit to the Trailblazers. They know the Spurs can run. They get back on defense quickly and watch to see if he is set. He is. Terry Porter drawing the foul off of Willie Anderson.
Well, you can tell it's a good call. Only about 3,000 people booed. 15 if they disagree.
When it's a mass riot, obviously you've made an error.
The Spur turnover. Porter trying to take advantage. Misses everything. Boy, and you really get the feeling he spent a lot more than he might have bargained for in that great first half on Tuesday night.
You find yourself short when the legs go out on you, and that might be what's happening to Terry Porter here early. We'll see.
Tuesday, he could have backed 10 feet behind that, shut his eyes and swished it. Robinson fouled on the dunk attempt. And that is 3 on Cliff Robinson. He's the first for either team to get foul trouble tonight.
But David Robinson doing what he has to, taking it right to the basket there, because 2 things are going to happen for David. He's either going to be fouled or he's going to get the basket.
Well, with Robinson in a bit of foul trouble, Adelman with a timeout to consider his options. 3:23 first half. Spurs by 10 in game 6. The first half. Spurs trying to tie it up at 3 games apiece. Meanwhile, at Arlington Stadium, Rangers have fallen behind again early. That's Jack Morris for the Tigers, Nolan Ryan for the Rangers, but 2-1 Tigers in the bottom of the first. And at halftime, we'll go to Greg Lucas, Brad Sham, and Jim Sundberg at Arlington Stadium as they will bring us up to date. Portland won for their last 9 as they fall down by 10. David Robinson at the line. Cliff Robinson having picked up his 3rd foul, replaced by Mark Bryant. And we'll remind you again that this is a Portland team without Kevin Duckworth for the whole series and virtually without Wayne Cooper since game 1. And he's, of course, not with the team. Duckworth is with a smaller cast, and they hope that if they make the conference finals, he might be able to see some action then.
And you know what's so amazing about that is here's a team like Drexler and Porter that use guys like Kevin Duckworth and Wayne Cooper to set big, huge picks. I mean, you almost have to have an airline reservation, get around those wide bodies, and they're still breaking free in this series.
Big drive underneath by Kersey as he becomes the first Trailblazer with double figures. 47-38. Spurs are slowly pulled away here in the second period after trailing by 1 after 1. And in the 2-man game, Strickland looking but can't find Robinson. The other way instead. 5 on the shot clock. Anderson to the open man, and again Strickland comes up short. Drexler chases down the long feed. But Clyde Drexler still scoreless. Loses that one out of bounds. That's going to belong to the Spurs.
That's tough to lose that one because Terry Porter had an unbelievable assist to get it inside to Drexler.
What a difference 2 days makes. 0 for 5 by Drexler, 2 for 7 by Porter. And they combined, for if memory serves, something like 19 of 23 in the first half of Game 5. Shot clock again winding down. Wingate with a man in his face almost, and a loose ball foul, and that will be on Bryant. Bryant waving off the call by Dan Crawford. Mike Mathis with a long look at Bryant, but they don't give him a tee.
Well, watch inside here as Wingate goes up. Watch underneath because Robinson's going to be going up here on the left side of your screen. He's going to be held. Now, you didn't see it, but it looked to be from the right side. It is actually Clyde Drexler holding David Robinson as he went up.
Bryant a little better nature that time, disagreeing with Mathis, but again only 1 of 2 by Robinson. 4 of 8 from the line for David. Lead would be a lot greater than 10 otherwise. Under the 2-minute mark in the first half. Drexler out-quicking Wingate, and he'll get a chance to score from the foul line. Foul on Gate is first, 4th against the team. And let's see if they give him the continuation. They will. Drexler, who had 18 first half points the other night, to go with 27 by Porter, and he, for most of the postseason, has led the NBA playoff teams in steals. Marked at 1:53 of the first half. The first points of the night by Clyde Drexler.
And in the playoffs, shooting pretty well from the three-point range at times. He's 4 of 11 at 3 points.
Caldwell Jones inside, nicely saved by Robinson. Wingate alley-oop. Second by Robinson, turned away. Rod Strickland will back it up. Anderson on the line, short for 2. Another offensive rebound. And David tried to pick and roll. Rod Strickland underneath travels.
Took the extra step. He was trying to find himself free there to get around the wide body. That was Jerome Kersey standing in the lane. And he didn't have a step to get it.
Out of rhythm, that entire sequence, really. And the offensive rebounds by Strickland are wasted. And the Blazers have 1:11 to go to try and narrow this gap further. Good job by them hanging in, not allowing the Spurs to put them away at halftime.
There's a foul away from the ball. Being charged against Rod Strickland. What he's trying to do is he's trying to keep Bryant from getting inside.
And that is the 5th against the team. First on Rod, and Kersey will step to the line. Really upped his game in this postseason series. After their early surge, Portland now out-rebounded on the offensive glass, 10-9 by the Spurs.
Now, not one of the better free throw shooters, though, in the playoffs, just shooting 68%.
Well, a nice 11-point lead down to 7, 48-41. Robinson rebounded by Buck Williams. Portland can come within 5. Drexler to Bryant. And an air ball short. Save Wingate off Kersey. That belongs to the Spurs.
Good quick move by David Wingate. Larry Brown's going to call a 20 here to talk over the last few remaining seconds. But Wingate with good hustle down the baseline to save the ball and knock it out of bounds off the Blazers.
Well, the Trailblazers have not allowed what the Spurs wanted, and that was for this to be all but over at halftime, the same way that games 3 and 4 were. But in those games, the Spurs had great second quarters. They just literally ran away from Portland. And the Trailblazers have done a much better job getting back on defense than in those 2 games. That's kept the Spurs from running those quick streaks off, kept the crowd to a large degree out of the game, and so it's only a 7-point margin.
You know, maybe it's just me, but I don't think the crowd has quite recovered from the double overtime 1:30 in the morning game. I think they're a little slower getting into tonight's game than normal.
I know I haven't recovered. A lot of yawning, a lot of bloodshot eyes around town yesterday morning.
Well, if you were late for work, you had a good excuse.
Now Portland with its own 22nd timeout. So we can remind you that Terry Cummings' latest musical output is entitled We Lay It on the Line, along with That Christmas Time of Year. Both available now on cassette exclusively at all Sound Warehouse stores. Proceeds from the sale benefit the San Antonio Metropolitan Ministry Shelters, SAM Centers. You may know them for homeless women, men, and families through the Spurs Foundation. Hope you can drop by and pick up at least one copy. How does he find time? How in the world can he play the basketball he does and still produce as much music as he does?
Write songs on the road, in the plane. Sometimes it takes him 10 minutes. Sometimes it takes him 2 years.
Blazers double team the ball, and a non-ball handler in some trouble. Caldwell Jones, but not for long. He spots Anderson. 16 for Willie, and the Spurs go up by 9.
How did he find Anderson in traffic?
Now there's a difference of maybe a second on the 2 clocks. 14 to shoot as Drexler will handle it. And he got Anderson off defensively, but here came David Robinson to help out. Anderson to Strickland, back to Willie. Count it with 1.1. And Porter gets it off, but too late. And the Spurs, thanks to Willie Anderson and Rod Strickland, go to the halftime locker room with an 11-point advantage. That run they were looking for finally arrived in the final minute of the half. Our halftime score at Hemisphere, the Spurs 52, the Blazers 41.
We're back.
Took a long time, but they finally got the run they were looking for.
You're looking for good fast breaks. It started off by great defense. We saw that at one point in this game. Also, one thing, if you're the Spurs, you're getting good scoring from Willie Anderson, David Robinson in the first half. But one thing that you got a little worried about here, Terry Cummings with only 4 points in the first half, no scoring at all in the second quarter.
If you're Portland, though, you got to be even more worried, because whereas at halftime of the previous game, Game 5, Porter and Drexler combined for 45 points, they combined for 9. Only 2 of those, and both on free throws, by Clyde Drexler so far.
Yeah, Drexler not scoring, but when he's not scoring, he is able to get the ball inside to his teammate. That, of course, Jerome Kersey. Watch the assist here as he takes it into Kersey, who gets it on the give and go. Kersey with the jam there with the right hand. That helped keep Portland close, but once again, it looks like the fatigue factor taking over on Drexler and Porter, who had unbelievable minutes. Drexler, of course, with 48, and Porter with 54, and that double overtime win for Portland in Game 5, and it's starting to take its toll here early.
And you saw the drive late in that half, and we gave credit to David Robinson, but really it was Caldwell Jones who got even a bigger piece of the ball than David. David appeared to get it first.
And then you see Willie Anderson on the break, watching feed it over to Strickland. Back over to Willie Anderson, who, remember, he's got that dislocated thumb on his left hand, but it didn't seem to bother him there. He bobbled a little bit, regained control, and got it back up and in.
Willie with 18 first half points, the big reason the Spurs lead here by 11. Barnett and Greg Simmons with the Spurs only 24 minutes away from Game 7 Saturday afternoon. Terry Porter rebounded by Buck Williams. Porter 2 for 9 so far. Clyde Drexler is 0 for 6 from the field. Those are the 2 most important numbers for Portland to try and turn around here in the second half as Cliff Robinson gets double figures. He and Mark Bryant doing a good job making up for the lack of backcourt scoring as they come back within 9.
And you haven't even seen the Spurs' Terry Cummings at his best yet.
Maybe that's the start of a turnaround for TC. He's got 6 for the game. Portland led by Jerome Kersey with 11 points in the first half. Willie Anderson had 18. David Robinson 14 for San Antonio. And Cliff Robinson going right around David, but he stepped on the baseline.
Well, you got to cut the baseline off to stop the penetration, because when you cut the baseline off, you give yourself a chance to get some help from the inside. That time he just tried to go around David and couldn't make it.
10th Portland turnover. Spurs with only 6 so far. Rod Strickland 1 of 5 from the field, 6 points. I beg your pardon, 2 points, but 6 first half assists. And traffic for Sean Elliott underneath. Whistle blows with 3 on the shot clock. Mathis and Crawford will confer. And I believe they say jump ball. Here's the starting backcourt comparison. And it continues to really be decided by whichever team is at home. It's most evident when you look at the guard numbers.
Yeah, in that particular case, 18 of those 20, of course, coming from Willie Anderson, who shot 8 of 11 in the first half. Rod Strickland's shooting game very much off, but of course, a big part of his game is assists, getting the ball to other people who can score. He's got 6 of those so far.
Darryl Garrettson now into the discussion.
This looks very familiar from when Jake O'Donnell and Hugh Hollins were having that big long discussion over resetting of the 24-second clock, which you spotted first.
Somebody had the clock on that. They talked about it for 5 minutes. The amazing thing was, for most of that 5 minutes, they were talking about where they would inbound the ball, not whether there was 16 seconds still on the shot clock, which they finally did discover. 54-43 Spurs. Isolation for Kersey, and he coughs it up to Elliott. Then he appeared to hold Sean. No whistle until Sean misses on the driving lay-in. That is the first of the game on Kersey.
No appearing there. He held Sean. As a matter of fact, watch what happens. They isolate on the side. He tries to drive in. Now watch him grab right there across his hip. Kind of hard to tell from that angle, but then he fouls as Elliott tries to deliver off the fast break.
You could just look at Sean late in that game, and you were seeing a different player. You could see in his eyes that he knew he had to take over. And you could also see him remember how it used to be at Arizona. This is a guy that doesn't have to take over very many games for the Spurs, but when he did, in the biggest game of the year, he was really something to watch. Several big shots down the stretch. Biggest lead of the game now, 13 for San Antonio. That 14-point second quarter, by the way, the lowest ever in a playoff second period by a Portland Trailblazer team. As the foul is the 3rd of the game on Cummings, and he's the only Spur with more than 1 foul tonight.
Well, that one reason that happens, 14 points. One, your two biggest scorers, your backcourt, they're not producing because all the time they put in. But again, the Spurs on defense inside. I have to go back to the David Robinson and C.J. block that started that break that ended the half. Or at the same time, Sean Elliott against Jerome Kersey a couple of times, forcing Kersey to change his shot and coming up with key rebounds.
And you look back over the last 6 quarters, 41 in a club record first period for Portland in Game 5, and that's a lane violation on Cummings, so Robinson gets one more chance. They start Game 5 with 41, 31 in the second, 27 in the third, 20 in the fourth, 7 in the first overtime. On down it went before they recovered enough to win it in double overtime. And you have to think that their lack of depth starts to take effect really as soon as the first quarter is over, and they have to go deep into the bench. That's what happened in this game. 56-45 Spurs. Terry Cummings stifled. Boy, Cliff Robinson putting it right back in his face, and then commits the rookie mistake at midcourt with the shot clock showing 3 seconds of fouling Willie Anderson, and quite needlessly fouling him.
Yeah, and he picks up his 4th foul in doing it, but look at this. All he had to do was just pull up and stick a hand in his face. Instead, he fouls him with the body, and that mistake cost him his 4th foul.
Boy, and that's their big problem with Cliff Robinson, judgment on shots, and in this case on when to just run away from a guy. Spurs were not going to get a shot off in time, or any kind of a good shot anyway, and it ends up costing Portland. Cummings extends it back to a 13-point lead. Quick shot at the other end, a brick by Cliff Robinson. This is where he really tends to hurt them on the offensive end. Strickland dishing, and it looked like it touched Kersey, but they give it to the Trailblazers.
Now, Kersey wanted a foul, but they're going to get Robinson out of there quickly and get Bryant back in.
We talked about Elliott remembering what it was like in college, and I think Cliff Robinson tries to do what he did in college, and he was the star for the Connecticut team before this year.
He's not the guy you want taking that outside shot.
He tends to forget he's got a guy named Drexler out there and a guy named Porter who have to heat up sometime. Drexler with an air ball. Kersey rejected, but after a foul on Sean Elliott, his 2nd, and the team's 2nd.
Elliott tucking the knees and going in for a hard foul here.
behind that goal with placards reading brick. And that's not in support of Frank Burkowski. That's a suggestion. You can see it right there for Kersey to follow, but he doesn't. 13 for the game for Kersey, 58-47. They double team outside on Strickland, so quick ball movement. And here's a steal, and Clyde Drexler is finally going to get a field goal.
And Drexler does it on defense, something he's been very good at in this series against the Spurs. He fouled out after 48 minutes of playing time.
Over 27 scoreless minutes from the field for Clyde Drexler. That may not have happened since his rookie year. Maybe not even then. Strickland way short. Robinson holding off everybody inside, but he can't buy one all of a sudden.
Well, how many times have we seen him miss that close to the basket in this series?
Needs to just go ahead and slam it. Haven't missed many of those this year. And underneath, Portland working it to Mark Bryant, and he is going to be called for the offensive foul, the elbow on Bryant, and that's his third.
Now watch the clear out inside, because he uses that forearm to try and give him some space when the Spurs collapse on top of him. And here's a good example of that. There you see the up fake. He makes a move inside, then he goes up, and that's what they call their very gentle push-off. That's something you normally wouldn't call in a playoff situation, but they do here.
And Robinson at the other end, 16 points.
Usually it has to be more flagrant than that before you'll get the whistle.
All alone is Kersey. Robinson looking long. Nobody there, so Strickland, the middleman on the break, and Anderson and Elliott to finish it off. Kersey got the block. Portland still showing that knack of hanging in this game. They've had a couple of chances to die and forget about this one and think about Game 7. They've chosen not to. Kersey on the drive. Stepped out of bounds.
Once again, you see David Robinson cutting off the baseline here. Watch David move to the left, and there you see the foot. You saw the foot on the line. Good call. And Kersey still appealing to Daryl Garrison. He's not going to give it up.
So a timeout. 7:18 of the third. San Antonio by 11.
As we test your basketball trivia knowledge.
Up by 11 as they were at halftime with 7:18 to go in the third quarter. Ground transportation arranged through General Rent-A-Car, America's fastest growing car rental company with free unlimited mileage coast to coast. General Rent-A-Car. 60-49 in favor of the Spurs, but Portland, every time the Spurs have been in this position where one more run pushes it pretty much out of reach.
Well, you look at it, the Spurs could really have opened this game up into a serious blowout at the start of this third quarter, and Portland has kept it from that by playing tough on defense inside, not allowing the easy shots. We saw Sean Elliott turned away on a fast break situation. So Rick Adelman has that to look forward to, but I just got the feeling in the back of my mind that Portland is looking ahead to going home for a Game 7.
Well, let's see. This was about the point of the game when the Spurs were down by 22 2 nights ago. Portland with only half that hill to climb. And Cummings driving into the double team. The pull-up falls 10 for TC, who has regained his touch here in the third quarter.
Yeah, he only owned 4 points in the first half. Those coming in the first quarter. He now has 6 in the third.
Correction, by the way, Bryant with 2 fouls rather than 3, as I said a moment ago. And Drexler, who almost caught that off the side of his face, also with 2. And the legs just aren't there. Porter and Drexler are short on just about every jumper they've taken. Robinson throws it away. Drexler another steal.
It's amazing. Drexler can't hit, but he's certainly still strong on defense.
Porter again short on a three-pointer. They are 3 of 19 combined. The starting Portland guards. Elliott, a great spin in midair to get away from Kersey, and the lead is 15 for the first time.
That was incredible because he had to go around Kersey, change his shot in midair. And now Elliott and Kersey are going at each other.
Mark Bryant stepping between those two, and for Sean Elliott, it's a case probably of hearing Kersey talk trash once too often, in addition to a few elbows through this series. Elbow technical. on both Elliott and Kersey. Well, that's been a verbal sparring match, not only during this season, but in the regular season series. And Sean said at the outset of game 1, I'm tired of it.
See, you saw Kersey say something to Elliott. Elliott goes right up against him, and then they see the elbow shoving match.
On the drive, not there, tipped in by Williams. Now, we haven't mentioned his name very often. That's only his 4th point.
The reason why he was 1 of 3 from the field in the first half.
Well, Elliott says Kersey tries to intimidate me, and I'm not going to be intimidated. Underneath, good look inside Cummings, and then unable to finish the play was Rod Strickland. Porter through traffic. And even the layups are an adventure for Terry Porter tonight. 9 points.
Or wasn't it Kersey that basically said he had rookies for breakfast?
Something like that.
Something in that. Paraphrasing.
64-43, back to an 11-point game. Isolation, Cummings, finger roll, and a foul on Buck Williams, his 3rd. 3rd on the team. Another indication, perhaps, that Portland is the more tired of the 2 teams tonight. They've been called for more fouls. They've been a step slow on the drives on them.
There's a classic example. Terry Cummings is able to get a step on Williams. Williams normally can get back across to get help inside. That time Cummings got around him, and Williams was forced to foul him to keep him from making that easy layup.
Rick Adelman, an original Trailblazer, wishes he had Kevin Duckworth to go to, but he doesn't. Well, he has not dipped into his bench much in this 3rd quarter as the lead is gone between 11 and 15 most of the way. Back to 13 here. Spurs front court doing all the scoring since halftime. Williams foul. That may be the first of the game on Robinson. And it is. David, one of 4 Spurs who fouled out the other night, replaced here by Frank Rakowski.
Robinson going for the block that time, caught a little bit too much of the body as he went up.
And for David, 16 points, 9 boards so far. Also out Elliott, replaced by Wingate. Buck Williams, who started his NBA career under Larry Brown at New Jersey. And he says, like everybody on that team, I was upset. I didn't understand why Brown chose to leave when he did and go to the University of Kansas. But I've worked through it over the years, and I don't harbor any grudges anymore. He admits he did at one time. Buck with 5 turnovers tonight. Only 1 more point than turnovers for him, and 8 rebounds. For the most part, Portland succeeding in keeping this a half-court affair. A little bit of running by the Spurs in the 2nd quarter. Anderson, desperation air ball, had plenty of time. Porter works it up. They try to come back within single digits. 4:40 to play in the 3rd. Porter with the mismatch clears it out. He wants to drive on Cummings. Rakowski over to help, and they foul it. And Porter ends up sliding literally out of your picture about 30 feet away. He's clear on Brick.
He's clear in the front row. Watch this. Again, Brick coming over to help Cummings here, who was beaten by Porter on the drive. There you see the foul, and it's a tough one. Porter losing his footing, backpedaling all the way out of bounds.
Porter at the line, shooting 2.
Porter, who overcame the loss of his mother very late in the regular season.
Matter of fact, if you look on his left shoe, you see the initials LP just above the heel on the left-hand side. And that's something for inspiration for Terry Porter. Says he can look down there and pick up the level of his game. Gives him something to strive for late in the game.
Those, of course, the initials of his mother. Both free throws give him 11 points. 66-57. Blazers hanging in, which in a way may work to the Spurs' advantage if there is a game 7, because they can't rest Porter and Drexler. Turnaround, not there. Boy, the Spurs have missed a ton of shots inside of 5 feet in this game. And the foul on Portland rung up on Drexler, his 3rd. 4th team foul.
That is tough, too, because you convert on that situation. Remember when Terry Cummings, for example, missed the little tip-in with 0.2 of a second left in the game. In that particular situation, that would have been a winning basket for the Spurs. Also, a couple of times where Terry had a chance to finish off some fast breaks inside, rimmed in and out.
Same thing happened to Robinson. The tip-in, though, that would have been one of the all-time miracle shots ever. I mean, you'd be seeing that in 50 years if he had made that shot.
And it was very close, very close. It's the only way you can score. What is it, inside of 0.5 of a second?
0.3.
0.3, right. The Trent Tucker rule.
Boy, Bryant Brikowski exchanged some elbows there. Brick looked at Darryl Garrettson for a whistle. Darryl gave him a very exaggerated shrug. Hey, what can I do? 68-57. Now to the 4-minute mark, quarter number 3. They've exchanged baskets since the Spurs led 52-41 at the half. Porter fans one of the walk. Kersey very short, and Willie Anderson controls. Now the Spurs will one. Wingate to Brikowski. And Brikowski will be called for the charge. And that's his third.
Now take another look at this. There you see to the dish off. Is he set or is he not? They say he is set, and Brikowski is livid.
Wasn't set, was not set. He was still moving. So the other thing they can call there is if you initiate the contact. And that's what they say Brikowski did, leading with the knees. A standing boo from the sellout at Hemisphere. Underneath Bryant, not there. Cummings will start another running chance for the Spurs. Strickland pushes ahead to Wingate. But very rarely have the Blazers not gotten back on defense. Mid-third quarter by Terry Cummings continues. He's got 12 of his 16. 70-57. And Drexler turns it over on his own offensive foul. They're really looking for the elbows.
Well, if you look at it this way, that foul committed by Brikowski, either way, either with a basket or a foul in that situation, it's just made them mad. And now they're coming back even stronger and have the crowd in this game.
That's 4 on Clyde Drexler. Not surprising that they're calling all fouls in this game, and now Anderson and Drexler separated by Mike Mathis.
Drexler's gone. He's gone. He threw an elbow at Willie Anderson. Anderson and him got in it. Drexler threw an elbow to his head, and I guarantee you Drexler is gone.
Well, we're going to see what happened. And Mike Mathis explaining his decision to Clyde Drexler, and it looks like he has been ejected.
Watch what happens. There you see Willie trying to fight out. There you see the forearm to the head right there. Willie tries to respond.
Tell you what, if Clyde could see what we just saw, he wouldn't be arguing. That's a very clear-cut, flagrant elbow, and I was about to say, not surprising that they're looking for the elbows with Darryl Garrettson, head of NBA officiating, on this crew. So out goes Drexler. 4 points on 1 of 10 from the field. 7 assists, 6 rebounds after his 35-point, 9 assist, 8 rebound effort in Game 5. And to Willie Anderson's credit, he didn't respond in kind, or the Spurs would have been out without Willie for the rest of the game. Portland without its biggest weapon for the rest of the way. Timeout, 3:01 to go in the third, and the Spurs in charge by 13.
They're asking what happened to Clyde Drexler. He has been ejected with 3:01 to play in the third quarter, and here is why. Watch just inside here between Cummings and Williams there. There you see the elbow first by Willie Anderson. Not much there, but that retaliation, a forearm to the head connected with the elbow to the face of Willie Anderson, is what got Clyde Drexler a chance to rest up for a possible Game 7.
And it doesn't take 2 tees to get ejected if you throw the elbow. That's how you can be tossed on your first, and in this case last tee. And Willie with 19 points, his first since halftime, makes it 71-57. So Drazen Petrovic in off the bench for Rick Adelman. They continue to drop for the Blazers. Duckworth and Cooper, and now Drexler unavailable. Wingate in the matchup with Petrovic. They double team and foul Frank Burkowski. That's their 5th as a team. And on Petrovic, it's number 3.
Well, you could take your pick on that one, whether it was Robinson or Petrovic. But they haven't let up at all inside. Here's Wingate trying to get it inside. He bounces it into Burkowski. Tries to put the move up on Robinson, but on the reach in for the right side of the screen there is Petrovic.
Johnny Moore back in for Rod Strickland. Portland also resting Terry Porter with Danny Young off their bench. Biggest lead of the game, 16 points. And the Spur fans want it put out of reach right here. Kersey on a drive, foul. Anderson will get the block, his 2nd. Each team with 5 fouls. And I don't think anybody is surprised that Porter and Drexler didn't light it up the way they did in Game 5, but I don't think anybody expected 4 for 21 from the field by those two.
Not at all. Willie Anderson having a little bit of slump here in the 3rd quarter. If he lit him up, 18, 8 of 11 from the field. He'll take a breather.
Well, let's see now. Our attention can focus back on Elliott and Kersey. They had to be separated a moment ago. Rebound number 5 by Terry Cummings. 73-58. Spurs by only 2 rebounds in that battle. 35-33. Offensively, all even. 13 offensive boards apiece. But Portland down to 37% from the field. Spurs holding steady at 48%. In and out by Elliott. Cliff Robinson with the rebound.
Good penetration. Just can't get the roll on those inside baskets.
This unit for Adelman now really featuring only 2 true starters, Williams and Kersey, but with the exception of Young, is going to have to be his nucleus most of the rest of the way. As the foul is rung up on Burkowski. He's the first Spur with 4 fouls. When you look at it from Adelman's standpoint, it's amazing that this series is still going on. If the Spurs were without their top 2 centers, and if their top scorer had been tossed, maybe they would have persevered the way Portland has done in this series. But it really would have been something to watch had that happen. Back in Robinson to replace Brick. .13-point game, 1:55 in the 3rd quarter. The Spurs in position to trade buckets the rest of the way. Portland needing a run, but without a whole lot of offense in that lineup. And David Wingate continues to hit them all from outside.
And that opens up the entire inside game every time he does that, because someone has to go out to guard him.
Young to Petrovic. Petrovic most effective off screens, but in this series he's shown the ability to create his own shot. A lot better than he did in the regular season. Foul on Johnny Moore, his 1st.
Inside, they're trying to get the ball to the penetrating Portland Trailblazer. They're trying to get it up on Robinson, who beats Cummings that time. That time trying to go in on David Robinson.
Best offensive showing of the series so far for Cliff Robinson. That's his 13th point. He has shot 29% from the field in the series up to today, and he's 5 of 9 in this game. But at the line, he is the Blazers' version of Rod Strickland. Johnny Moore left alone. Rims it out. Robinson knocks it right back to Junior. From the corner, Cummings in and out. So we go to the last minute of the 3rd quarter. Kersey, a wraparound feed, a wraparound reverse by Cliff Robinson. If you were told before this game what a great collection of athletes the Trailblazers are, and you ought to see them in the open court, you'd still be wondering why they have that description. That's one of the most athletic plays they've been allowed to make all night. Double team Cummings. Looks, finds Robinson. Shot clock at 3. David taking it in deep. And again, he misfires from inside of 5 feet, and the Spurs will be called for the loose ball foul. That's number 2 on David. Watch Cummings and Williams.
Well, Williams got laid out on that play. He was completely taken out. Here's Terry looking for somebody to pass the ball to. Then he's just going to wallop Williams. Watch him lock up with a leg and take him down with a left knee.
Bit of a flop by Buckton. Hoping to get the whistle and didn't. Here's Kersey. Willie Anderson and Strickland back into the game. Moore and Elliott will sit for the final 30.7 seconds of the third quarter. Well, again, it looks like there's an excellent chance of a Game 7. That would be at 2:30 Saturday afternoon. If the Spurs win tonight and Saturday, they would have the home court advantage in the Western Conference Finals against the Phoenix Suns, and it would begin here Monday night at Hemisphere Arena. Game 2 would be here Wednesday before they go to Veterans Memorial Coliseum for Friday and Sunday games. And against the full court pressure, the Spurs get the easy 2 from the Admiral. Now 18 for the game. Shot clock is turned off. Byron Irvin back into the game. Now Petrovic off the screen by Kersey. Pick and roll, and Kersey with an air ball. And that will bring the third quarter to an end, and the Spurs still have the same 11-point advantage they earned by halftime. Rick Adelman with 12 more minutes to try and win the series here, or else they'll go back to Portland. At the end of 3, San Antonio 77, Portland 65. I don't know how anybody can sleep in this building, but that young lady manages. We want to again give our greetings and best wishes for a quick recovery to Uwe Blob's wife, Key, who after giving birth a couple of weeks ago went back into the hospital last weekend and had an emergency appendectomy. Uwe says she's doing well, but still following the game from her bed in Methodist Hospital. So our best wishes to Key and hope she's out very quickly.
And their son, Christopher Johannes Blob, doing very well.
Willie Anderson, the story early for the San Antonio Spurs. 8 of 13 from the field for 19 points, 18 of those in the first half. And Greg, we talked so much early about how the Spurs needed the good start, and Willie provided that.
He gave it to him. He had 10 in that first quarter where he was 5 of 6, and that enabled the Spurs to establish their game early. And his outside shooting also helps open up the inside game for the Spurs. The Blazers are forced to respect that.
And you can see the advantage from outside for the Spurs. Drexler out of here with 3:01 to go in the third quarter for elbowing Willie in the face. And a big third period surge by Terry Cummings with 12 of his 16. Robinson trying to go backdoor, knocked out of bounds. Well, they changed the scoreboard very late, so I said an 11-point margin for the Spurs. It is 12, 77-65. And in the postseason, they're 5-0, and they've led at the end of 3 periods. They're also 5-0, and they've led at the half, and they led by 11 at intermission. 4 on the shot clock. Strickland just in time, but that's about 2 feet shy of where he meant it to go. Terry Porter back in for the Blazers. And they crank it up to Kersey with 18 now as he leads the Blazers.
I tell you, Strickland is not himself tonight. From the field, he's only been able to hit 1 basket.
1 of 8. 2 points, 8 assists for Strickland.
Still good on his assist factor, but his shooting percentage way down.
And I'm guessing he's got about 4 or 5 alarm clocks after tonight. 9 by Wingate. That likely will be the only practice that Rod misses in the postseason. The one this morning. 79-67. Porter for 3. He's been short every time from outside. Knocked around. Brakowski to Strickland. Give the Trailblazers a little credit because they've kept him from getting out in the open court. A much better job getting back on defense compared to games 3 and 4 here. Turnaround off the glass, 21 for Willie, who is over 20 for the 5th time in the postseason.
You see how active he was, creating his own shot, his quickness, opening himself up, even though he was double-teamed.
Speaking of double team, that results in a foul on Brakowski. That's 5 on Brick. And Cliff Robinson will go to the line. 81-67 Spurs. 10:21 to play in the fourth period, after which we'll be naming our Mazda player of the game. That at the conclusion of tonight's game 6. 15 points by Cliff Robinson. That's easily the best offense he's shown in the postseason.
I tell you got to give this young guy credit. A situation where you're not expecting him to perform for you much above in double figures. He comes in averaging against the Spurs in the playoffs, shooting 29% from the field, just over 8 points a game, only 63% from the line. Yet tonight, when he had to take over in his situations, he was there to respond on offense.
Rebound number 12 for David Robinson. And then another needless foul on Cliff Robinson. That is his 5th.
Just as soon as he praised the guy. Just a rookie mistake. We saw the foul he committed against Willie Anderson when he had him trapped at the midcourt line, where all he had to do was just keep him from getting the ball out to someone, and that would have been a shot clock violation. There you see another foul committed by the rookie.
So out he will come, and back in Buck Williams. And you hear so many coaches saying, I don't mind errors of enthusiasm, but that's not so much an error of enthusiasm as it is an error of judgment. And it's really two different things. You'd rather have him be lazy and not commit the silly foul than think he's hustling and cost himself his 5th personal. On the baseline, Anderson and Robinson and Williams exchange a few elbows. That takes the focus away from a great fall-away shot off balance by Willie. 83-68. Irvin can't answer. David another board and another Portland foul. This one will be on Irvin, his 2nd.
I want to tell you, David Robinson came very close to exchanging blows that time inside with Buck Williams.
Well, this is the time of the game where they have to calm themselves down. And they've got the advantage with Drexler having been thrown out, and now Cummings and Williams, the latest pair to be separated, as Anderson is replaced by Elliott.
And now Petrovic and Wingate. What Cummings is going over and telling Williams, hey, settle down, no elbows. He's still talking to him. And now Robinson and Williams are still chatting at one another.
Well, we showed Walter Payton in the first half. He's got to feel right at home. 10-footer, 20 points for Robinson.
And Robinson answers right in his face and then says something to Williams on the way down the court.
Biggest lead of the night, 17 points. Off the screen is Irvin. Now it's Kersey. And it will not fall, unlike Kersey and David Robinson. Number 3 on the Admiral.
I tell you, David is very close to just exploding here. This is going to be a hard foul as Kersey drives inside. There you see Robinson waiting, and he takes him down. I want to tell you, Robinson shot that ball, and on the way back down the court on defense, he's screaming the entire way.
Buck Williams and David Robinson, double technicals. So let's count them up. That's 7 technical fouls tonight. Bryant, Brakowski, Elliott, Kersey, Drexler, who was ejected for his elbow foul, and those 2.
Gee, has this been a physical series?
You know what it reminds you of? It's like late in an NFL training camp where you get more fights than you do early in camp, and they say it's because we're sick of seeing each other. Same matchup, 6 games in a row. Familiarity tends to breed contempt in a situation like this, and then throw in the stakes. Both these teams know the Lakers are out. They know that the Western Conference is more wide open than it's been in a decade. And again, the same matchup producing a whistle, and that's 4 on Buck Williams.
Watch as Robinson tries to come down the baseline to get the ball here. Williams is all over him from behind. He's pushing and shoving. Now, that's not where the contact was made. It was long before that elbow in the back.
Ball away. Robinson. You make a mistake, and a serious mistake, if you get him mad. waking up the proverbial sleeping giant. 87-70 Spurs. This place has the atmosphere of the Felt Forum on a boxing doubleheader. This will be an illegal D on Cummings, and the second against the Spurs, so a technical foul. It's not Angelo Dundee, that's Larry Brown. He may wonder at this point.
Where is the fight doctor when you need him?
Terry Porter to shoot the tee. And I don't care if the Spurs are going to win this game by 30 or 40. No one's going to lead, because no one's positive that this isn't the last home game of the year for the Spurs, and they want to relish every last second of this continued home court dominance. Williams in the double team. Kersey. And Jerome with 21 points, 87-73. 8.5 minutes remaining. 8 technical fouls in this game. That one off Terry Porter belongs to the Spurs.
They're doing anything they can to try and keep the ball out of David Robinson's hands. Porter collapsing down. Now they double team on the inbounds pass with Williams and Porter against him.
And Irvin went for the steal. Came up empty. From the corner, Strickland. Rod now 1 of 9 from the field. Loose ball foul, Trailblazers. Number 2 on Kersey, 4th against the team.
Yeah, what happened was Cummings was trying to drive in. Kersey gave him an elbow inside and knocked him out of the play.
Well, Portland shot 52% in the first quarter and 11 of 39 since then. You can't tell me they're not tired. They are feeling the effects of the double overtime win.
And it's only going to get worse here in the fourth quarter for them.
Well, it has gotten worse. They were 12 down coming into the period. They trailed by as much as 17. And they post up Cummings on Kersey. He turns up short. And Williams starts to break out to Porter. 3-on-1. Petrovic crosses over. But you can count their successful fast breaks on one hand tonight. Winner of the series will face the Phoenix Suns, who defeated the Lakers in 5 games. So many things have broken just right for the Spurs this year. Elliott with 12 points.
Well, let's see if we have a new fourth quarter man here.
Spurs have been healthy virtually all year long. A lot of games during the regular season they won because someone was without their main guy, as Buck goes inside for his 10th point and turns for a brief comment to David Robinson.
Oh, they've been talking the entire fourth quarter.
Well, they're doing more than talking. They're again mixing it up in that matchup underneath. 2 more. Sean Elliott with 14. But Greg, the trend of things breaking the Spurs' way as Portland gets timeout should make them even more emphatic that this is the year we have to seize the advantage and try and go all the way. The Lakers are no longer in their path. If they hang on here, they're a win away from the West Finals. 6:43 to go before the Spurs and Portland will head back to the Great Northwest for Game 7. And this is in keeping with the theme of the night, Robinson and Buck Williams as they go to their respective benches, and David offering a bit of an olive branch, Buck wanting none of it.
Williams still wants war. They've been exchanging blows inside. They've been exchanging words on the way down the court.
Well, all the advantages for David Robinson in that matchup with Buck. Also appropriate that during that timeout, the Coyote reemerged in his Karate Kid getup. That's just, I'm sure he had that plan before the game, but he must have known something about how this game would be played.
You almost need a black belt to compete in this series.
Clear out, Kersey takes it in and comes up empty. Loose ball out to Porter. Terry Porter finally has enough leg to knock it down, and he's struggled his way to 14 points on 4 for 13 shooting. And this is maybe even a more amazing number. He has 2 assists tonight. These were good for 9 or 10. 18-footer Cummings. Rebound Strickland. Rod with another double-figure assist night. He's got 10. We are at the halfway mark of the 4th quarter. Dave Barnett, Greg Simmons. 91-79 Spurs. They triple the Admiral. Anderson stepping around Petrovic. And the putback by Strickland. Just his second bucket of the game. Petrovic in trouble. Now Porter wants him out of the way. They will work again to Kersey. Stolen away. Wingate, who leads the series in steals for the Spurs. Anderson. 2 more. 25 for the night by Willie. Bad thumb at all. And the atmosphere, one of 16,000 people who really smell some Portland Trailblazer blood. That's 12 points for Buck.
Poor Rod Strickland was forced to guard Buck Williams after Robinson had to pick up Terry Porter off the screen. And that's a little bit of a mismatch.
Here we go again. Robinson and Williams, and that will be a hold. And being the veteran he was, Buck grabbed him but then flopped. So often he gets the charge call, but he couldn't fool Darryl Garrettson, and that's number 5.
He also saw David Robinson dip the shoulder, and he's hoping he'd get the charge off of that as well. Here's another look. Watch Robinson take the pass here. Watch him dip the shoulder. Buck will grab him and then flop to try and draw the foul. Good attempt.
Not a lot of refs will call that, but Garretson seen Buck Williams do it for 9 years. It's almost such a good move. You almost say it's too bad he doesn't get it. I mean, that's a brilliant bit of strategy. And you never know. He may already be thinking about Game 7 strategy. And David Robinson, a factor throughout tonight. Unlike so many other games in this series. Until Game 5, none of the games in this series closer than 10 points. That foul on Cummings is 4th, 3rd on the team. This one going the same way. We've had a great series despite the fact that only one game has been close.
Another been great games. 13 points, 10 points the first 2 games in Portland. 23-point difference here in San Antonio. 10 points in the second game here in the arena. The closest was a double overtime.
Kersey backing down. Robinson got a piece of it. Back out. That's his 5th rejection. And now Petrovic stripped again by Wingate, but it goes off David and out of bounds. 6 on the shot clock. The unsung hero for the Spurs in the postseason. But he was sung the other night when he hit that 3-pointer. Williams out to Kersey. He'll try a 3. Not his cup of tea. Byron Irvin inside, block number 6. 2-on-1. Anderson with Cummings. Alley-oop. And you can start gassing up the jet. Start packing your bags, because this one is headed back for Game 7 to Portland Memorial Coliseum. Timeout with 3:50 remaining. One more look at the 2-on-1, and it all began with the block by Robinson.
The defense starts it. The fast break finishes. Here's Willie Anderson, alley-oop to Terry Cummings. In your living room comes Jerome Kersey. Have a seat in the front row.
Tonight's Mazda player of the game is the second-year guard out of Georgia, Willie Anderson. He got the Spurs off and running with a 10-point first quarter, 18 and a half, and 25 so far, and 11 of 17 from the field. despite a dislocated left thumb. Visit your local San Antonio Mazda dealers who bring you tonight's player of the game, Willie Anderson. See the winning combination at Mazda. It just feels right. 3:50 remaining. Danny Young, Byron Irvin, Cliff Robinson, Nate Johnston, and Drazen Petrovic. As Danny Young knocks a long one down to make it 99-83. Rick Adelman realizes he's got to start thinking about Game 7.
Now's the time to start resting as many starters as he can and get ready for that Game 7. Waving the white flag.
And as Strickland took his eye off the ball, Young took it away. Cliff Robinson with the jam. 18 points for the rookie from Connecticut. 99-85. 3:15 remaining. By contrast, Brown leaving Cummings, Strickland, and Anderson in. Wingate and Rakowski off the bench. But the only two off the bench. Willie in the rookie matchup with Irvin. And they're just about all going Willie's way. 27 for the night. All things considered, this is as impressive a game as he's had in the postseason. And that will be the Spurs' 4th team foul.
Well, they call it on Wingate. Wingate will charge. That Petrovic put an elbow practically through his sternum.
Well, the Blazers not ruling out Wayne Cooper from Game 7. He didn't make the trip. Medication for his back spasms left him woozy, so he never even got to the arena for Game 5 2 nights ago. Mike Mitchell and Caldwell Jones checking in, and you never know, this might be the last home appearance by the oldest man in the NBA, CJ, who is, if you're not aware by now, retiring whenever the Spurs finally close out their season. They hope it's 2 more rounds from now. Mike Mitchell in the matchup with Nate Johnston, a rookie free agent out of Tampa, and Mitch powers it up and then they wave it off. Offensive foul.
Offensive foul call on Mitchell. Spurs are 14 foul.
Like a left forearm as Mitch was trying to go up with a right-handed jumper here. Watch him spin away. He goes up. They say he pushed off with a left forearm, and that was long after the shot.
Portland gives it right back on the offensive foul away from the ball. Number 4 of the game on Petrovic. And Brown not using Reggie Williams tonight, nor has he used Uwe Blab off the bench. And bench clearing for Larry in this case involves getting the veterans in, because he's not sure if these fans will get another chance to see Mitchell and Jones. There's a nice touch. Wingate double figures with 11. Another outstanding shooting night for David Wingate. 5 out of 6. Irvin not close. Jones to Strickland. And Mitchell with the no-look feed. Underneath, Anderson counted with the foul. 29 for Willie. Well, we opened the game with cliches. Why don't we end it with cliches? This is a very, very gutty performance by Willie Anderson tonight.
Watch him go right inside, knowing the body was there, up and over. He knew he was going to get undercut and come down on the shoulder.
A career playoff high 30 for Willie Anderson. As we go under 2 minutes, 3-pointer Danny Young, 7 of 11 from 3-point range in the postseason. Now Reggie Williams into the game, along with Johnny Moore, and CJ steps out of bounds. Elliott back in. He'll replace Willie. Willie gets the standing O for his 30-point effort, with 7 rebounds and 5 assists. Underneath for 2, Nate Johnston. That's not only a career playoff high for Willie, that is a season high for him, regular season included. Moore drives on Young and gets wrapped up. Game may be decided, but the fouls are still hard. And Johnny will get a chance to get on the scoreboard with a minute 14 remaining.
Well, if you're the Spurs, and we talked about it a little bit in the pregame show, going back to Portland, you have to be a little bit more confident this time, simply because you're able to make that comeback from down 22 points. You're able to put the game not once into overtime, but twice. And you're also able to try and hang on when you have 4 of your top players out of the game. 4 players foul out, and you're still within striking distance of the Portland Trail Blazers.
And you saw Uwe Blab. All 12 Spurs have seen action. From the corner, Irvin. And Johnny Moore beats him to the loose ball. In trouble in the trap, and they foul him with a minute 2. Irvin with his third. Well, as you turn your attention to Game 7, you think about what the Spurs have done well up there. What they've done well has come from behind, but in a Game 7 situation, you don't want to be in a hole, and so it really comes down to whether Terry Porter has the type shooting game that he had in Game 5. And also, from the Spurs' perspective, I think everybody in agreement that with Duckworth out, Robinson absolutely has to play a first half the way he plays the second halves up there. He can't wait until they're too deep in a hole to get on track. He's got to dictate the action.
Robinson basically has to play the type of game in Portland that he played here tonight, although a little quicker on the start would help. Willie Anderson helped get the Spurs off on the right foot. That's exactly what they have to do in Portland.
If that happens, as Cliff Robinson goes inside for his 20th point, you have to like the Spurs' chances, even though they've lost 12 in a row in that building. Mike Mitchell with his first points. 110 to 94. Nate Johnston. And Petrovic in a foul with 37.6 seconds. That on Caldwell Jones. Well, Game 3 of this series, the only time all year in which Portland lost and failed to score 100 points, and they need 6 points tonight to avoid that happening for the second time in 3 games here in this series.
Yeah, that was just 98 points in that 23-point blowout. The Spurs leveled against Portland in their first game here in this series.
And one trend holds for Portland. They still have never wrapped up a playoff series on the road. When they've done it, they've been able to celebrate in their own locker room. They've also never lost a series in which they led 3-2, as they did in this one. Uwe Blab will go to the line. Foul number 4 on Irvin. A lot of people think that a home court advantage means less in a Game 7 than it does through the rest of the series. Kind of strange, because
you
the
would
reason
think
you
just
want
the
the home court is to have Game 7.
Game 7, exactly.
But the theory goes everything is on the line. There's so much to concentrate on, and Willie Anderson looks like he's deep in concentration, or else deep in pain.
He's got the ice pack on that left thumb, and you got to wonder how much that might bother him. He played such a tough game tonight. We never saw any signs of it during the game. He's got to start feeling the pain here, though, a little bit afterwards.
Nate Johnston makes it 111 to 97. Well, this
Saturday afternoon,
extremely young, talented San Antonio team will live to play another day. And if they can end that long losing streak, over 4 years worth of losses in Portland, then we will see them take on the Phoenix Suns right here Monday night, first game of the Western Conference Finals.
Well, and you really got to be loving that if you're the Spurs, if you're able to advance, because everything seems to be going the right direction for you. I mean, it just seems to be falling into place. Willie Anderson chewing a little bit on that towel, but knowing that if they win in Portland, they have that opportunity to advance against a team they'd manhandled during the regular season.
Too early to call them omens, but they all kind of fall in place the way omens do when you look back at the end of a championship run, which the Spurs hope to be able to do in a couple of weeks. Game 6 is all over, and the series will go back to Portland for a deciding 7th game Saturday afternoon. Larry Brown and company do what they had to. They survive with another dominant home court performance, and Rick Adelman will hope that the home court again means a victory in Game 7. Our final in Game 6. The San Antonio Spurs 112, the Portland Trail Blazers 97. Back in a moment.